recap.
I'll take up the first part, and then Dr. Varma can take up the next part. So I think it was an excellent talk by all the speakers. Dr. Professor Kumar talked on cardiac fibroblasts. In fact, my favorite cell in cardiology is actually the fibroblast, maybe along with the endothelium. He talked about how the fibroblast transformed into the myofibroblast, and how the ADR2 receptor and its work in that. Uh, I think fibroblasts will become one of the most important areas in cardiology, especially when you start looking at the fibrosis, how to tackle the fibrosis, how to image the fibrosis. Like today, for example, you have T1 maps and MRI to find out how fibrosis can be evaluated even clinically. And then, of course, the arithmogenicity of the fibrosis, which we today target. So today we target the fibrosis and actually the fibroblast. The next talk was by Dr. Shivel Saryapan and on animal models and heart failure. Animal models, of course, is a very important aspect of understanding the pathogenesis and how to solve a problem, be it clinical or otherwise. I mean, if you take the simple example of COVID, see, COVID infects the human being and the bat. In the human being or in the bat, it basically goes to a receptor, gets into the cell, and replicates itself and comes out. But what really happens? It kills the human host and continues to be in synergy with the bat host. So what is what? So you got to really choose the animal model. So it may be the effect of what we were discussing in the earlier one based on the genetic response to the repressor genes, which is present in the bat, and the promoter genes, which may be present in the humans. So what I would like to say is that the choice of the animal model is very important, and depending upon what disease you're going to deal with. His work on hypertrophic cardiomyopathy actually began in Chitra, and from there, he could find out this new variant. And now that work is extended all over the world. Dr. Varma, I think you can take care of the other one. Yes.
So it's very interesting. Then the third speaker, so Professor Vipin Ramakrishnan, the system biology applications for the cardiovascular stress disorder and this network medicine, basically from one target to and one drug into a target network with a multi-component therapeutics, and this is very interesting, and these various interactomes and how we correlate with this network technique. But I'm really appreciate Professor Karta and his team also helping him to see these Ayurvedic drugs and other things, because they are always talking about multi-component compounds for many of this one, and we are also having very lot of empirical results also. So this I am really happy to, and extremely interesting to see that it's a very scientific approach. As we should definitely have all the other tests, not only the empirical alone, but for the other essential in vitro and in vivo analysis. But I think it's the basic platform to address this issue of this, how we can have at least some of the very proven medicines, our radiation medicines and other things. This is a very interesting thing for me. And this in the Dr. Vinod Skaria is in the Institute of Genomics. Is a very interesting work related to the population genomics for the discovery of disease variants in the population, and especially in Indian conditions, especially like these programs like this Guardian and as well Indigen, where which because these are as we are always talking with the Dr. Anoop also, then you are going to understand a lot of more diseases and other thing. What are the solution? But definitely the programs like in the CMC Vellura, and so whether the Dr. Srivastava and other group, how they are going the help this type of genomic data for the blood-related diseases. So I think in his work, this is an overall very interesting thing on how we are going to see that these understanding is going to help in this understanding, especially some of the very typical diseases, genetic diseases in the populations, which is very vulnerable. So this is a very, very interesting. This is first time I'm listening to such a talk. But in the last one, Dr. Deepthi Menon, and it's an interesting work with respect to the surface modification. There are different type of thoughts like this. One way is that surface prevails, and whereas the other groups like our famous these other groups in the, especially Ratner and other groups in the US, they approach that ultimately material prevails. So there are two kind of thoughts, whether it's a surface or the ultimate material. Once this endothelialization happens and it go to the deep, what is happening and other thing. But still, definitely some of the approaches where with the surface technique in the nano scale, Amrita has been doing a great job, especially for making these nanostructures. And I'm really interesting to see such a wonderful these nanostructures, which may have, and maybe further studies are required, but still such properties like this type of endothelialization as well as the less smooth muscle cell proliferation, etc., may help. And these type of studies are definitely helpful in our understanding. And only the time and the more experiments will prove that these are true. Otherwise, we are go back, as Dr. Harikrishna was used to say that about bare metal stem cell. So whether these, but it's a very, very interesting study, and seeing the results also. So with this, I conclude. And very interesting. Thank you for the opportunity for me to come and listen to this very interesting talk. Thank you, Professor Kappa and Dr. Harikrishnan and Dr. Ajit. And thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. I hope there is no competition between the surface and the material. So now we'll go to Dr. Anoop for the day's conclusion and recap.
Thank you, Dr. Harikrishna and Dr. Karta, for a very excellent first day of selecting one of the best speakers. 3.5 hours, I learned a lot. Okay, extremely engaging talks. I found that that I was reading some of the literature on cardiac basic sciences. These days I do read about cardiology also. So the one of the major focus, I think, among all medical sciences, cardiology is growing, especially in basic science. It looks like fast-growing field. Maybe because the large population of people are getting affected with cardiac diseases. And I think the focus is on early diagnosis. Can we have I saw that first session itself was very focused on microRNA, transcriptomics and metabolomics, and all these ideas which is in Indian scientists are also focusing on, and which is going to give us a very new ideas, and especially the talks on genomics and large data bank. Once we have a very high large data banks, advantage will be we will able to see the the pattern generating out. And artificial intelligence systems are also coming up, and large data can be analyzed very easily these days. And I think this field is going to grow very, very fast, and we will have a lot of ideas on when the patient is going to develop particular patterns of heart diseases. I think that will be the future, it looks like, and very proud to see that Indian science and many of the speakers are really focusing on those areas. Second session was very interesting, mainly because cell biology, understanding how the cell reacts, what are the pathways through which cell reacts is one of the fundamental things we want to know. And there are a lot of ideas on how the cellular mechanisms can be altered. Can we bring materials into the patches into the heart tissue, so that cellular functions can be changed? These ideas are also coming, and that is where these model systems and understanding the biochemical pathways involved, how the cellular interactions are changing. All these ideas are brilliantly done. Some of the talks were very, very powerful and very informative into that way. Technology wise, and I hope that there will be few more technology talks. One of the things which is the wearable devices and new applications which are coming on, how the exercise and all kind of food items which we take, all these are changing. Now we have so many other new additional works are coming, which is actually changing our behavior. Those ideas would have been a little more interesting also. And that is one only small part which is missing. But I think overall, I felt the first day of this conference was brilliant. And seeing that basic science has been brought into a clinical discussion is an excellent change. I think Professor Karta and Dr. Harikrishna are extremely involved in basic science of cardiac biology, and no surprise on that. And I appreciate the efforts you have taken to bring the best scientists into this area and giving us a very good opportunity to listen to the best of it. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Dr. Anoop. We had a very good attendance. We expected,
Yes.
we had around 350 registrations, and we thought we now have around 320 people listening to this at this
Yes.
point in time. So we had a wonderful response. Thanks to all the delegates. We will be starting tomorrow at 6 o'clock with a keynote address from Professor Jayagumar, Director of Sri Chitra. And then we have the sessions. Basically, tomorrow will be more clinically oriented topics. Today, we thought initially it will be basic science oriented topics with a clinical inclination. Tomorrow, it will be the other way. Professor Karta, please.
Yeah, I think I agree with Anoop. That all the talks were very engaging, and it was a very learning experience for me. Brilliant talks, excellent presentation, and I hope Dr. Harikrishna will agree with me. It's very, very satisfying that at the end of the day, we had all the speakers reporting and all the speakers taking great efforts to talk on the topics that we have selected for them, which is actually not done usually. I'm very satisfied. I hope Dr. Harikrishnan is also satisfied.
Yeah.
Thank all the speakers for agreeing to come and talk about their work, but putting it in the appropriate perspectives. But the whole idea was to give the clinicians a feel of what the basic scientists can do and what all technologies are now available to address the questions that the clinicians have. And I hope this will stimulate more partnerships among clinicians and scientists for the betterment of cardiology practice. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. And we exceeded the time by 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, I think. So considering the online platform and the issues with that, I don't think it is too much too much of the time. So thank you everyone. Good night, and we will meet tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.